This is Julia Budd, and you're listening to Vibe 105.
Vibe Talks. Vibe Talks. More than just music.
Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for Vibe 105 with a Sports Vibe Talks segment where we're going to be talking about Bellator MMA today. I'm happy to be joined by my guest. She is a former Bellator women's featherweight champion. She's Julia Budd. How you doing, Julia?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Oh, doing great. And you're getting back in the cage here in Bellator MMA on Showtime. You're on the card there, Bellator 257. You're going to be taking on Dayana Silva. Just if you give us a rundown of your opponent, what's a scouting report look like, and what are you expecting out of her on that night?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm welcoming her to Bellator, so I'm expecting my best performance. It's been an amazing training camp, and I'm so excited to get back in there.
Yeah, and you just mentioned there, it's a Bellator debut. So is it tougher for you training for somebody's debut, or would you much rather, you know what, this is a risky fight, maybe someone ranked in the top 10 would have best suited you, or like, what are your emotions about this fight?
I'm so excited, like especially right now in the way the world's going, and kind of like I was excited to get an opponent. It was easy to get footage on her. I've seen some of her fights, and I knew about her before Bellator mentioned her. So I was just excited that I got an opponent and a date and something to prepare for.
And yeah, this is going to be on Showtime, that new partnership. We saw that first event kick off. Overall, what's been the mood around some of the fighters around your camp, and just in preparation for this fight, about this new partnership and what it can do for you?
It's just exciting. I just watched the last card and I thought it was amazing. It was so many good performances, and I'm excited to get in there, and it'll be me and Lance Gibson Jr. that are also fighting. So there's two of us that are fighting the same night, and it's just been a good vibe all camp. We're so excited to be getting in there.
Yeah, this whole COVID pandemic is like throwing everything off. So how has your training been impacted by this?
It's definitely, it wasn't impacted. We've got a good crew of like training partners, and there's been so many people that have been able to help us get ready for it. So it's just been a little bit different where like the gym's closed. So we're just, it's more private training, I guess. And that's a little bit of the difference. Less people in the gym, but my same regular guys that have been helping me get ready my entire career were there every step of the way. So it's good.
And have you had trouble finding some space to train? Because I know some fighters, they've been saying, okay, they have to do more stuff over Zoom and find other avenues for that. Like, how has your training maybe changed, and what are you experiencing in terms of results in your training camp?
Well, we're pretty lucky. We own our gym, so we've got the facility, and we've got the the mats and the cage and everything. So I'm really lucky. Didn't have to do any Zoom training, but yeah, I definitely feel for all the people that have had to deal with the shutdowns and not had that.
Yeah, and you also, what's interesting, you fought on that one of the summer cards when they first came back, and it was this whole new norm at the time. Nobody knew what to expect. So when you're going into that environment, how was the overall fight week change? Like, what is all the protocols that you have to do before you actually go in there?
Just COVID testing. The flying is a little bit like, it's harder to get there because there's less flights leaving Vancouver. So it's just, I guess it's a longer travel day, but other than that, it's right when you get there, they've got it all down where you're basically put in quarantine, made sure that your COVID test comes back negative, and then it's pretty normal fight week, because during fight week you're just with your regular team and training and not around too many people anyways, so it's not too bad.
And psychologically, was it a big difference for you? There's no fans in there, so did you find that you were still in that zone to get in there, or did it take maybe a few minutes before you find that, okay, I'm in a fight here, this is a different environment, but I'm ready to go?
Not at all. It was weird. Like, I could hear everything that her corner was telling her to do. So you can hear everything a lot better, but we definitely missed the fans, but it was just like it felt like a sparring session, like when we're in the gym. So
for those just joining us here on Vibe 105, we're being joined by Julia Budd of Bellator MMA. And Julia, this event that you're going to be competing on, a lot of eyeballs are on it. Here in Canada, we got to see it on YouTube. So Bellator, they're still waiting on that Canadian deal. But in terms of the viewership there in the States for Showtime, what do you think it will do for the women's division? Like, what kind of impact do you think it will have on them?
I think it's just always getting better. We've got the best 145 division in the world, and I think it's just another step in the right direction of showing how great our divisions are and how talented we are.
Yeah, and some of the names there that you're looking in that ranking system. Of course, Cyborg's the one there, and some of the other fighters that have been signed. Is there a fighter that really catches your eye that you hope to maybe be in the cage with down the road?
I'm just looking for the belt again, the title shot. So I need to go out there and make a statement in this next fight and get back in there for the title.
Yeah, because you're going to be fighting, and then Katzengano's also on a card. It's kind of similar in time. So with Cyborg's fight being announced for May, do you think that maybe your fight, Katzengano's fight, that could be the winner of that? Whoever has a more impressive performance gets to take on Cyborg?
Definitely. I think that it matters how we go out there and perform this month and show that we deserve that spot. And I definitely deserve the rematch. But this fight is all I've been focused on, obviously, because you can never overlook anyone. And so I'm focused on this fight, but it's definitely, I'm looking to make a statement.
Yeah, your last fight with Jesse Mealy was also an interesting time because you lost the belt to Cyborg. That was your first loss in over 8 years at the time. So going through the pandemic, was it harder to, I guess, get back in there because maybe you were just waiting to get back in right away, or did it maybe help you in your performance?
It definitely helped me in my performance, but it was just I didn't want to sit on that loss for too long. I was really lucky that I'm one of the fighters that got to fight twice in 2020, so I felt really lucky to be able to get back in there and get a win. But I was just motivated. As soon as I lost the belt, I was motivated to get right back in there. So no, it just helped me. I was messaging Bellator saying, get me in here as soon as possible. As soon as you guys are back up and running, let me in there. And they did. And I was grateful for that. So
what did you take away from that loss? Because, like, of course, in Bellator, you were dominant for so long, and maybe this loss maybe caught you off guard. So what was the biggest takeaway from that night?
I knew that Cyborg was a champion as well. But there's just little things, a lot of technical. I felt like it was a few technical things that I made mistakes on. It wasn't really like the whole overall. It wasn't when I broke it down with my team and we started studying what little mistakes I made here and there that cost me the win. It was those things that then we could get back in the gym, start drilling, fix them up, and have me back in there and correcting them. So that was kind of my big takeaway.
And yeah, then she fought Arlene Blanco. Was that the same Cyborg you saw in that fight, or did you see maybe something in there that you can really exploit the next time you fight?
I mean, that fight was pretty quick. So it wasn't so much that I was just watching. I was impressed by how she did, because I know how tough Arlene is, but at the same time, no, I watch her. It's pretty much the same Cyborg that you see.
Yeah. Once again, for those just joining us here on Vibe 105, we're being joined by Julia Budd of Bellator MMA. And Julia, some of the fighters that come on, it's a fun question I usually ask them. What did you get? What was your first training camp like of your welcome to MMA moment? And who were some of the fighters that drew you towards the sport?
My first fight, like my first MMA camp that got me into it, I was actually just down with my husband now, but he was training Rampage at the time. Wow. So I was kind of just training on the side, not really, focused on getting in there and fighting. And then they got a call that there was an opening to fight for Strikeforce at my weight class. And I was pretty nervous because I was just learning the ground. And that kind of is how it propelled me into my MMA career. So I was kind of just training Muay Thai and then all of a sudden I was fighting MMA. That's kind of how I started.
That's a great story. Rampage Jackson and that training camp. Who are some of the fighters that you idolized maybe in your first few years in the sport?
I like some of the Canadians. I always watched like Mark Hominick fighting. I looked up to Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, and always watching them. And pretty much just those are my favorites.
And like, how does it make you feel that there's going to be women, especially Canadians here, looking at you as being that fighter that they idolize now coming into the sport?
It's huge, it's what, yeah, it's cool to see how many, the impact that women coming into the sport that I've been able to have on a lot of young girls and girls getting into the sport, and being one of the Canadian women pioneers in the sport. So it's definitely something that I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, it's great to hear. And Julie, before we wrap up here, how can our listeners follow you on social media?
At Champion Jewel, and that's on Instagram, and Julia Budd on Twitter. So you guys can follow me on there.
Yeah, highly recommend that follow. Julia, I'd like to thank you for taking the time and coming on here on Vibe 105 to talk about your upcoming fight, and we wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Julia Budd of Bellator MMA. Stick around because we've got plenty more programming right here on Vibe 105.
And now back to your Vibe 105.